Hey, listen up, Spuds. This is Zap Brannigan, master of time, space, and everything else in between. And, oh yeah, winner of this year's Modesty Award. You're listening to You Suck with Al and Tom. Your one stop for this sort of thing.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to You Suck podcast with me, Alex Whiteley. How are you?
And me, Tom Bruno. Yeah.
You looked a bit like, what the fuck is going on? I didn't realize you. Why am I doing here? What's going on?
Yeah. Where am I? Who are you people? Where's my wife? Shut up. Scared. Sad. I have an erection.
What is a podcast exactly?
Actually, I had a 17-year-old ask me what a podcast was because
come on,
like the rest of my employees are kind of like, they're used to it now. Like they used to me going like, I talk to famous people and I do it with a British guy every week. It's hot. We vocally arouse each other. And so I was kind of like giving a little explanation with one of my associates kind of like chiming in like, oh, he does it with a British guy. Oh, he does this. And she's like, so what's a podcast? And I was like, you're fired. Get out of my store right now.
How dare you?
Yeah. Fucking that speaks to intelligence, right? You can't have unintelligent people work for you.
I think it's if you don't know what a podcast is, or a YouTuber, or a blogger, or a vlogger, or anything like that, I feel like you've stepped away from the mainstream, which is kind of commendable in some respects.
Well, I think it's like not a choice thing. She's a Jehovah's Witness, dude. So like that's something else that's kind of weird. So like I don't like to you know me, man. I don't like to disrespect people. In the same way that I am on the show is the same way I am in real life. I'm not gonna sit there and berate you for whatever choices you make, whatever religion you are. That's not the way to live your life. So like, I found out she was a Jehovah's Witness, and I was like, I was just asking her questions and shit. But she doesn't like one thing I found kind of charming, but kind of weird at the same time. You went to prom, right? A promenade.
No, I got expelled from school before prom happened.
What? What'd you get expelled for?
I had seriously bad depression when I was in school, and I sort of I played hooky for like 3 months solid.
Oh.
So like, yeah, you're not welcome here anymore. What? Nothing bad. I didn't like burn a toilet down or something. I was just
so
literally.
So you got the letter from Dumbledore saying that you're no longer welcome at Hogwarts. Is what happens. Did it come by out?
I turned up. My head of year was like, "You might as well go home. There's 2 days left, and don't come to prom either." That's pretty much what she said to me.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Like, that's I mean, like I think they have similar rules. When I was a kid, and just offshoot, you could like bring upperclassmen and people that weren't even in high school to prom. They were like, yeah, bring whoever you want, because they couldn't control who you dated. So you could bring like your 30-year-old boyfriend.
Does you know someone that can get good shit?
Pretty much, dude. Pretty much. Like they kind of
your
like
mic is coming across really loud. By the way, it's like proper like yeah.
Is it? Oh, that's not good. I don't want my mic to come across loud. I like to come across nice and sweet. Anyways, so like this girl went to prom, and she was like, my mom went with me. I was like, oh, like as a chaperone? She's like, no, as my date. And I'm like, what the fuck?
I mean, look, it's not all about getting your leg over, is it? And even though that is the main.
Mom, it's prom. I expect two things at the end of the night: a good fucking time and pussy.
Try turning that mic down just a tiny bit. I don't know why it's coming across really loud, but just try and turn the gain down just a tiny bit, because I want people to hear what you're saying. Yeah, sure. Even though it's like it's a. Give me something loud. Not too loud. But...
Hey, Alex, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better. A lot better.
No, sure. You're lying to me. You're lying to me right now. I don't like when you lie to me. I can sense it through the microphone.
You know what, right? When you think about prom and stuff, and you talk about medieval times when people got married and people would stand and cheer when someone, they consummate the marriage. It's like
prima nocta.
It's not that far. Like America, they're kind of like, yeah, you go to prom, you go to a party, and you get laid, and it's kind of like that's like the accepted thing. It's not that far away from it if you think about it. It's not.
Parties have not changed a lot in like the last like 100 years. I bet you everybody that was in like medieval times are like, oi, you go into, Bridget's party tonight. They're getting hitched and shit. And he's like, yeah, I'm totally going to fuck somebody. He's like, all right, stick my sword inside my knight. That's probably how it went.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just through history, that's how things. That's how things. Right. The Book of the Mandalorian. The Book of Boba Fett. That the latest series. We're going to spoil this, by the way. We've kind of been doing this every week anyway.
Every week.
Every week. Okay. Right. So we're at the point now, because obviously this is going to go out like a week after this episode is released. We're talking about the episode of Boba Fett where the Boba Fett wasn't in it once. It was like there's this meat factory and there's the flappy door thing, and then the Mandalorian just breezes through, and I was just like,
I paused it. I was watching with Shona. Obviously, that's why I watched Mandalorian or Book of Fett with. Mandalorian, and all of a sudden Mandalorian, like, pause that, rewind. I'm like, babe, come here, watch this really quick. What's going on right now? And it was Mandalorian, and like, this just tells you, I think people are hating the Book of Fett just to hate it at this point, because they didn't have Boba Fett at once, and like, still hate it. It's garbage.
Okay, right. So if you watched a whole series of Book of Boba Fett or Mandalorian in one go as one movie, there would be a bit where, I don't know, Luke Skywalker is dealing with Yoda whilst Leia is dealing with this. Like, they do span away where there's like conversations being had and long bits being done on like the Death Star. Or like, if you think of the Book of Boba Fett as one long movie, this one episode focused just on the Mandalorian and how he sort of fits into it. I like it. It kind of works.
Okay. So did you like him melting down the spear?
It kind of made sense. It made sense that there are rules. That's what I got out of that. There are rules. Like, it doesn't matter how badass you think you are. There are rules, and even to the point where she was like, "Have you removed your helmet?" He was kind of like, "Yeah, I kind of had to." I mean, this is the thing, right? He didn't go. I had internal bleeding. They were trying to fix my brain. Like that's just kind of what happened. Straight up, like, take your helmet off. You're not a Mandalorian anymore. And I was kind of like, Darth Maul had that dark saber. It didn't seem to matter that they were kind of like, yeah, you got a problem with it, I'll kill you. You know.
I thought that was like, I could tell instantly. I love movies and TV because like they give you a very clear picture of what's going to happen. The moment they look back at the big blue guy and they're like, he's just like staring them down with the dark saber. You're like, oh, he's gonna try to get that dark saber. What a dick. Yeah. I thought it was interesting though. I think it's like, why do you have any idea of why? And I don't. I'm not saying like, do you know, Alex? Because I do. I'm saying like, do you know any idea why the dark saber fucking gets heavy? Like, what's that all about?
Because it's really strong in the Force. It was created by a Mandalorian Jedi 1,000 years ago. It's full of magic, and like anything.
There's dirty metachlorians all over that fucking thing.
Yeah, by the goo load. No, it's very strong in the Force, and you know, you've got to know how to wield it. Same as any lightsaber, really. When you make your
I don't remember like Han Solo picking up Luke's saber in fucking Empire and being like, "This thing's so fucking heavy. How do I cut this tauntaun open?"
I don't know. I don't claim to know all the answers. You know who would know all the answers?
Eric Pfluger.
Mr. Eric Pfluger. We need to get him on.
All right, let's bring in our guest today, Eric Pfluger. Fucking answer this questions about the darksaber, please.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Goodbye. But yeah, to go back to what you were saying earlier, I think people are hating on this. They're just the most menial things. I saw a comment earlier yesterday. It was like, "Oh, but the car fixing scene was really boring." I was like, do you expect TV and movies just to be like all the way through? Like, no, that was a really nice scene. I really liked it.
Wasn't that Queen Amidala's ship, if I'm not mistaken? Like, I mean, I know one of. Well, they say that, but like, how they don't have like lineage and papers. Well, Anakin, back. It could be.
Anakin flew up in one of those ships and destroyed a destroyer. Like, that's one of the things. Yeah. Let's do a barrel roll. That's fun. You know, that was the ship.
Yeah, that's cool. That was dope. Fucking, I like that. Like, once again, I really like, and plus Bryce Dallas Howard did this episode. Like, let's not like even
that's the second one she's done, isn't it?
Is the second one she's done? Which one?
Yeah, she did one of the Mandalorian. She did one of them episodes.
Did she?
She did, yeah. I'll find out.
I don't pay attention to that stuff. I don't care about the people that make the show. I just like it.
I'm opening up 2 IMDb's now. For just a database website, IMDb takes some serious juice on the internet. Did you notice that? First, we have an amazing guest coming on in a minute. We have Chris Battle, who is an amazing animator, working on some of the most amazing things that we can talk about. we'll get into that in a sec. Bryce, how is she? Oh, there she is. But yeah, she did that one. And yeah, I'm really interested because there's only like 2 episodes left of Boba Fett, and I think maybe that's what's frustrating. Yeah, there's only like 7 episodes run from what I hear. That's what the JC said, or Banff said on Fat Man Beyond. Was saying that there's only 7 episodes. So
I don't like that. I like Book of Fett quite a bit. I mean, how many episodes were in Mandalorian?
Give me hold on. So she did 2 episodes of The Mandalorian. She did chapter 11, the Heiress, and the Heiress, should I say, and chapter 4, Sanctuary. And then she did this episode of Boba Fett. She's also doing Flight of the Navigator.
Isn't that the Owl movie?
I don't know.
No, that's something else. That's something else.
A child returns after disappearing. Words, Whiteley. A child returns after disappearing for over a decade, and the world has aged without him.
Scary. Isn't that what happens anyways? You know, stuff ages around you. You look up and one day.
Could you imagine like disappearing in the 80s, right? And then doing this thing where you're in a bunker and you don't see anything, and you get up and the first thing you see is Elon Musk's Cybertruck. You'd be like, "Oh, fucking hell, cars haven't gone, they haven't developed at all. Like they're still the same."
They've gone to the pot. Didn't they make a movie about that called Blast from the Past?
I don't know.
Oh, you never saw that? It's a Brandon Fraser movie, and Alicia Silverstone's in it, and his family.
Brandon Fraser, you say?
His dad's Christopher Walken. And it's during the Cold War, and they think that they're going to get bombed, and a plane crashes outside of their bunker because this guy's like one of those military genius type dudes, and he seals the bunker for like I think 50 years or something until he has a heart attack, and then his son has to go out into the world and try to bring supplies and shit back, and he's like a kid that's been raised by his 2 parents without seeing another human being ever, and it's all about how he kind of lives. He's got like these 1960s sensibilities to him. He's got like old baseball cards that are worth a fortune. He's got IBM stock and shit. The dude's fucking like loaded because
I know the film you're on about. I know you did the film you're on. I just didn't recognize the name. I remember it now. Yeah,
it's a good movie. Really quickly, because I mean our guests are gonna pop up really soon. So I was thinking about something. There was a meme that popped up with Tobey Maguire in reference to Spider-Man, of course, which I still haven't seen. So but spoilers to me, I now know that he's in it. Which I guess is my own fucking fault, right? If I wanted to know it, I should have went and saw it beforehand.
It's your own fault. Yeah.
Fuck you. So there was this meme popped up with Lois from Malcolm Middle because she was the mom in Pleasantville. Then all of a sudden it reminded me of something. Do you remember Pleasantville?
Yeah, I do. Yes. We've talked about this before. Yeah, I think it's one of the most perfect films ever made. I do.
It's a great movie. Great movie. Fucking doesn't his mom at one point be like, "Hey, where's your sister? She stays in Pleasantville. She doesn't go back." And her mom, not once. What a horrible mom, right? Like if I lost one of my kids, if 2 of my kids pop back up from not being home after a shift at work, the first question I would have is, "Where's your sister?"
Unless it's like Meg. Like, shut up, Meg. Shut up, Meg.
Did we have 3 children? No, Peter. All right, cool, whatever.
that as well. I've been watching a lot of Family Guy recently. This is like not like because it's one of my go to sleep programs. Which is the moment is a problem because the reason I've got blips and shit, yo, behind me is because my wife had to move around and you've just got literally a boring wall on my bed behind me. So I thought blips and chits would be much better to look at. But like,
are you gonna play? Roy today?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna smash Morty's score, which apparently I've heard is not that hard to beat. But where
it's not high at all.
no, apparently not. We're back to the carpet score. Where she's put our chest of drawers, I can't see the screen when I lie down. So I'm like, what the can't fall asleep. So we're going to have it. But yeah, and I love how they kind of just adapted. I hadn't watched Family Guy for a few years, like new episodes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think they did well. They've done well to sort of adapt to the modern era.
I like Family Guy, but like I like old Family Guy, and I especially like there's a couple episodes that are just so perfect in my personal opinion. Like, and then there were fewer. prime example of some of the greatest of Family Guy when they start killing off people in the mansion. I thought that was brilliant. And I like the episode where Stewie and Brian are in the bank vault stuck on. Dude, brilliant. Fucking, it really shows you that they're really striving for something more than just a funny TV fucking cartoon. I've been watching. Go ahead. You first.
They did a Ghostbusters bit on Family Guy, which I absolutely loved. Yeah, they were. I think it was Joe and Peter having a duel. And and then Peter's like, I've got a laser gun from Ghostbusters, and it shows him like firing up at the sky. He's like, oh my god, I've got Adam West, and he brings him down, and they catch him in the trap and go, yeah, we'll keep him till we get a new mayor, obviously because Adam West's
dead. Oh, that's really sweet. I like.
I no, go on, do your thing, and then before our guest gets here, I will finish off with some nice news. Go on.
Okay, no, you think you got some nice news?
No, I'm going to segue the fuck out of like pop culture and stuff.
Okay. So I like stuff. I'm watching Simpsons again. I always get fucking caught back up and do it. That's my go-to for like sleeping or, I always go back to Simpsons, and it was really cool because I was watching with Deacon, and I've got him trained. He was like, I was watching Who Shot Mr. Burns, part 2, and he's like, it was Maggie, right? And I was like, fuck yeah, it was. Up high, little guy. And I fucking high-fived him, and I was like, no, go get your dad some weed. And he took off and ran and got me my weed. No, he didn't do that part, but he did say, wasn't it Maggie? And I was like, yeah, it was, man. I'm like, Maggie shot him, and fucking, he's like, so why do they think it's Homer? And I was like, because there was Simpson DNA on the gun. And it was right around the scene where Marge was like, no, I took everything, including Simpson DNA. and Lisa doesn't like, to me, I'm like, oh shit, she's talking about taking a load inside of her. Lisa's like, sure, mom, and she rolls her eyes at her.
See, those jokes that not only do the kids not get, but also after a while takes you, you think about. But it's not the perfect test though to watch it with your kids. I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See what watch it with the kids. See what they actually take in. Because I mean, I didn't get that as a kid either. That didn't go on my those.
We just recently did this weekend. We did the Ghostbusters Marathon. So we did Ghostbusters 1, 2, and then Afterlife. And Timmy loved it. Genuinely, he's like, Venkman is my favorite. I like when they turned up. Spoilers, by the way, if you listen to Ghostbusters Afterlife, when they turned up at the end, he was like, yeah, and he saw Venkman. He's like, Venkman is my favorite.
Yeah, Venkman. What was that?
That's Kaz fucking about with my mixer. She just comes in and starts pressing buttons.
All of a sudden, your entire place blows up. You're like, that was the self-destruct button, Kaz.
You're banned. You're banned.
Don't ban her. She's doing too much work for us lately. You're unbanned, Kaz.
Tom says you're unbanned. You're okay. That was the intro to the Shrewsbury Biscuit. Anyway, so we had something really cool happen in regards to Pod Aid, guys, and I did put a post about it on Facebook, but the listeners may not follow me on Facebook, what have you. If you remember, back in September, we did Pod Aid to raise money for Lincoln Davis. It was a 24-hour podcast. We did it in partnership with Reach and with Web Orchard. And I want to say thank you to Charles and to Heather as well for micro videos. It gives us an amazing TV camera to use. But Shane, in the background, he worked at Enterprise, the car place at the time. And every year they give £1,500 towards a number of charities or a charitable cause. And he's like, yeah, we're doing this thing called Pod Aid, if you fancy it. And they were like, yeah, whatever, bitch, I don't know. But they were like, yeah, okay, wait, whatever. And lo and behold, it came through. It came through. So we made just under £1,200 for Lincoln Davis from Pod Aid, which is amazing. But on top of that, we had this £1,500 donation from Enterprise. And so our total for Pod Aid was £2,664 we raised for Lincoln Davis. Yeah. And they gave me this card, which is showing up weird because of the green screen. It says thank you. And they said this purple badge is given to our amazing fundraisers who raise over 2,500 for us. So this special purple badge is a special little token that they give to people that only raise them 2,500. So this is for you. This is for you, Tom. This is for Jamie, for Jules,
share it.
For David, and for everybody that came on. Yeah,
we're gonna share what you.
I'll wear it in your honor.
And you're wearing my honor.
In your honor. Yeah.
I love it. Sorry, that was a, and then there were fewer quote because remember when Drew Barrymore was with it was Brian's ex-girlfriend Jillian, and she was like, they're doing it in my honer, and he's like, that's honor, honey. Oh yeah. So that was that joke. I hope somebody out there got it because that was so. Anyways, so yeah, you wear 2 days, I'll wear 2 days, David wears the 2 days, and then I guess Jamie gets it 1 day, and then we'll just switch off.
It's a nice thing, and you know, like by giving a little badge out like that and putting a specific color on for specific things, it's just a nice way of. It's like a rank, isn't it? Yeah, I want a gold one. I want a gold one.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do Pod 8 again this year. I know it was a nightmare to do.
Son
but
of a bitch.
We're gonna do it.
I didn't even do the logistics of it. It was hard.
Yeah. But we've still got people that we can rely on, people that we can work with. Again, there's still me. And Shane he's not doing much with the biscuit at the moment. He's taking a break, but he's already said he'll help out with Pod Aid. So we've got me, Shane, you. We got David. We've got Moose is well up for it. I spoke to Moose about it. He's like, yes, sign me up. I'll do it. And we've got an amazing team. Just
speaking of which, if you guys have not checked out the latest Wednesday Night Live, which is now Thorskin, which is really, really cool. I love the fact that it has that name. Yeah, fucking. If you guys have not been checking out that, you really need to. Like what Moose and you have been doing with it recently is just phenomenal. I don't like to diminish my part at all, but like it's just light years above where it was, and I think I enjoyed the fuck out of it. I like being a guest. I thought that was weird, being a guest on like a show that I created.
I like being a guest too. It's nice. No responsibilities, right?
No, I just went in there with my dick out, and I was like, "There's a lady here." I was like, "Oh, let me zip up my balls at least," because it's cool to show the shaft, right? It's cool to show the shaft.
Just don't show the tip, so people
no tip.
A bit to imagination. So yeah, USUK is slowly coming back. We've got this amazing guest we've got coming today, and we're speaking to some amazing. Like there's some amazing people that Kaz is speaking to at the moment, which I don't want to say because it'll jinx it. But yes,
which is why she was unbanned really quickly. You're trying to ban her. She's putting the most work in right now. You're like, ban the one that's doing the work.
Well, this is the
lower
thing,
the drawbridge.
Because my wife is now my unofficial talent agent, I guess. I don't know, booking agent. Yeah, she feels like she can come in and start pressing buttons on my mixer. Which, do you know what? Crack on. She's done a great job. The guest we've got for you today is, after working with the amazing people we've worked with, like Billy West and Charlie Adler, and the people that made things from yesteryear, the things that give us that warm glow inside us, that nostalgic feeling. When Kaz was like, I've got Chris Battle, who's an animator for a lot of what Cartoon Network have put out, and Marvel, and so much from my youth. I kind of just whelped inside a bit. I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I'm really excited to bring to you. Chris, give us a thumbs. He's backstage. Give us a thumbs up if you're ready to come in. Are you all right? You good? Yeah, he's there. Right, introducing guys, Mr. Chris Battle. Hi.
Hey guys, how you doing?
How's it going?
Yeah, it's going well.
Thank you for coming on the show. We are very, very excited to speak to you because we have a kind of an addiction to nostalgia, right, Tom? When it comes to it's
nothing better than cozying up to the warm blanket of yesterday. And you, good sir, have had a huge, without even knowing that you did everything that you've done until like I pulled up the IMDb. I was like, oh, I saw that, and I saw that, and I saw that. And it's funny because like the more we've been doing this for almost 4 years now, and like we've worked with people that you've worked with, so we got this like quasi connection in the background, and it's always fun to kind of link those little dots and be like, oh shit, now we've talked to Chris Battle, who worked with Charlie Adlard, and who's worked with Billy West, and we've done interviews with both. So it was really,
you can't
cool.
Get Adlard and Adler mixed up right there. I mean, because if you were like, I'm gonna go and look at Charlie Adlard's back catalog, you're gonna see zombies in the show and get him beheaded. Like, but yeah.
So I worked with Charlie Affleck one time, and it was really cool. He was excellent. He quacked me a whole bunch, got me really great insurance rates. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was good stuff. So looking through it, sir, I got to ask you something really quick right off the bat. Usually we kind of go into like how'd you get started, which we'll get to in a minute, but something really prevalent because it always pops up. My kids love Teen Titans Go. They do. They think it's phenomenal. I've tried showing them the older version of Teen Titans, which is the one that I saw when I was a kid. Not really a kid, I guess. When I was basically an adult still watching cartoons.
Yeah,
and
like it.
And I like them both. I think they're great. And I love Teen Titans Go because it speaks to my kids. They did not care for the old Teen Titans. They don't give two shits for it. But they love Teen Titans Go. Why do you think Teen Titans Go speaks so well to this generation, but not to my generation, because there's so much weird, like toxic fandom when it comes to it.
Yeah, it's hard to say because, we were talking about properties that, some of them are like over, 60, 70 years old. And in the case of like when I was a teenager, it was the new Teen Titans because, Teen Titans existed since the 60s. And in the mid 80s, that was when George Perez and Marv Wolfman created the new Teen Titans, as most people are familiar with them now. So there's always going to be new versions, there's like, as a kid, maybe I watched like Super Friends, Batman, and maybe I saw those old 60s Adam West Batmans. By the time I was a teenager, I was like, no, it's got to be the Frank Miller Dark Knight Batman. Even I was disappointed by Tim Burton's Batman, and the endless versions, right? So, certain things speak to a certain time or a mindset, and maybe as an adult, I got to understand what camp was really all about, and then I'm like, oh yeah, Adam West Batman is awesome, and so is all these ridiculous Joel Schumachers in a crazy way. But and it's when you're dealing with these classic legacy characters, they're timeless, which is really cool, and each generation gets their own version, and you can either get with the new ones or you could go back and look at the past ones, and not every version is for everyone, but usually everyone gets a chance to experience one, and maybe they'll come around. I hold out hope for your kids because that original Titan series is awesome.
It is great. I mean, I think but I like the fact that they found something that really speaks to them. I don't know if it's the silliness of it or the camp factor, much like the 60s Batman or whatever it might be. But I love that it speaks to them because now they talk the same language I do. They'll be like, "Oh, Robin," and I'm like, "Yeah, man, you know what I'm talking about." All right, cool.
It's the gateway drug to all good nerdy things because now they're gonna get all these inside jokes, and someday when they're a teenager, you're all, okay, you see that little blue doll in the background? That's Dr. Manhattan. And let me explain who Dr. Manhattan is. And then they're going to get all these jokes that are in the background.
I've been reading the Saga Swamp Thing lately because I got you always hear about Alan Moore and how great that series was, how he really revived it, took it from Len Wein and really turned into something else completely. So I've been reading them, and I actually did a read aloud to my kids because there was the whole segment where Abby Arcane gets taken to Gotham City and she gets arrested for being in love with a plant monster and all that jazz. And there's that really amazing scene at the end where Batman starts telling the mayor, he's like, "Yo, you got to let Abby Arcane go." And he's like, "No, she fucks plants, bro. You can't let her go." And he's like, listen, she might fuck plants, but everybody's fucking somebody weird over
That's
here.
That's the most Tom Bruno thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's okay. I didn't say to my kids, I didn't yell, but listen, kids, everybody fucks somebody weird. I didn't say that to them. This is just a monologue. And they start dropping names Starfire's with this person from the Teen Titans. I'm like, yeah, see, all right, there's connections. There's always a correlation between the two.
Yeah. You can bring out the positive lessons for kids, as is age appropriate, and it works.
Oh yeah, absolutely. if keep PG-13, drop one fuck every hour, and it's okay. It's good.
But basically, they can get to know all these really good nerdy in jokes that they can laugh at, or they'll elbow you in the ribs when they're watching a new Marvel movie and go, "Oh, I know what that's about. I get that joke."
And this is the thing that it took me a while with the new Cartoon Network and the new style of things. It's taken me a while to understand, and sometimes it's about looking at those bigger pictures and sort of how things will develop for these kids going on. We spoke to Brian Graydon, who pretty much built MTV as it is today, and me and Tom before that were kind of like, "Oh, you fucking Kardashians and all this shit. Like, what is MTV supposed to be these days?" Until Brian explained it to us, and he's like, "Well, no, if you can choose now what you want to watch. You don't have to watch that. You can go and watch this, and and it's the same with Cartoon Network. It's kind of a gentle push into I'm sat in Blips and Chits right now, right, which is Adult Swim, the older version of Cartoon Network. It's like an initiation. It's you're guiding these kids through that journey. The Dr. Manhattan doll, like you said in the background, little breadcrumbs. And I like that.
Yeah.
Now I understand it.
And nothing stays stuck in amber, be it pop culture or TV networks. There's been such an evolution over the years of what channels will be. And what's even funnier is that sometimes when people would talk about the difference between Nicktoons and Cartoon Network and Disney, it's like, well, especially here in the US, most of animation is done here in Burbank. There's some other studios we acquire content from studios in New York or in the UK or Canada. but the majority of the animation is done in Burbank. So everybody kind of knows each other. A lot of people went to school together, and like Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, our artists would go back and forth. We'd finish up on a Cartoon Network show, go over to Nickelodeon, and then all of a sudden everybody there would go over to Disney. And it's not really that different in a way, but I think the more content, the better. If there's more creators getting shows and more jobs for us and more outlets and different voices, when where not everything is the same as just Nickelodeon. You get all the great stuff that Netflix has been doing lately. So there's new creative things that are coming out. So it's pretty wild.
Is there something with you guys as a community where you'd be like, oh, this job's going, oh, I know it'd be good for that, Chris, and you ring up your mate and be like, Chris, there's this job going at yeah, is that what it's like?
Absolutely. We're always messaging each other saying, what are you up to? Nice. Or really anybody, all you have to do is just, put out a notice. In pre-pandemic times, it was very easy. You would just call up your buddies at Disney or at Warner Brothers, and you would just say, hey, well, why don't I come over? Let's grab lunch. And then you kind of maybe say goodbye to your friend and then walk around the halls, and you'd run into old friends. And a lot of times you'd find out about jobs that way. But but now with social media, it's even easier. You just put stuff up under the portfolio day hashtag or something, or just message all your friends everywhere. So it's tight knit, which is pretty cool.
And looking at your IMDb, you can really tell that is the case, because you got shows that were on the Kids WB, like Shaolin Showdown. You have shows that were on Cartoon Network. You have shows that were on Nickelodeon, like Real Monsters, which, by the way, that is my era of everything that is Nickelodeon. We spoke to Mark Summers. We've spoken to a lot of people that we become very friendly with, because just how much love and how many memories I have of what I would consider to be the golden years of Nickelodeon. Now, how does that come to be? Like, I mean, obviously you meet somebody, you're like, oh, there's this job offer right here, or is it like, do you just hear it through the grapevine? Like, how do you go to be able to jump from so many different things? And is there like some people that stay in that one camp are like, oh, you went to Cartoon Network this week, why would you do such a thing?
Luckily, like I said, it's a small thing, and of course it has evolved, because when you're talking about when I was working on Real Monsters, that was like in the mid 90s. There was barely any internet going on, but it was still pretty easy to at least go have lunch with people somewhere. You would literally just give them a phone call. Was the only way to contact them. But some people really enjoy being at a particular studio, but like I said, because of sometimes regime changes, or just because of different talents, and a lot of people, some people come from the same school. A lot of us are at least of the same generation. We have the same tastes or whatever. You will sometimes go where the projects are of interest to you. Like for instance, in '95, when I was working on Real Monsters, I was at Klasky Csupo. They famously had started out doing the original animation for The Simpsons, and then they created Rugrats and got into their own content. That was one of my earlier jobs, and they had a really cool style. I wasn't really into the whole Disney thing at the time, but they were all a Hungarian artist was the co-founder, along with his wife, who's American, and they had a lot of Eastern Bloc talent, people from Hungary and a lot of artists from Russia, and so it had a really interesting graphic look to it. So I was like, I'm really gravitating more towards that, because I've always enjoyed things that have a real visual style, more graphic look to them. And I did Real Monsters. That was really cool. I learned to draw like a Russian. And when that ended, they said, well, we're thinking of bringing back Rugrats, because it had already ran its course, in the early 90s. But then they just said, we're going to do more. And I was like, I'm not really interested in that. And at the time, the new Cartoon Network, the What a Cartoon shorts were being produced at Hanna-Barbera. Yeah, and already they had started on the first round of episodes of Dexter's Laboratory, I think maybe the first 6 or so. And one of my coworkers there I was doing characters with on Monsters, he was from Cal Arts, from Gendy and Craig's class. And he was just going over there to do storyboards. And then another one of our artists went over there, and we all just started calling them up, because we're like, I think we like that show better. That's speaking to me more now, and then we were able to get in on that. So I just try to follow whatever's interesting me rather than just a studio. But, sometimes certain jobs run a long time. I know people who have been at Disney TV for like 15, 20 years, because they just keep going and they have a good time with it.
there seemed to be a lot of creative freedom when they did the What's a Cartoon. I mean, there was people like Seth MacFarlane did a cartoon for there. They seemed to be where a lot of people kind of got their foothold into the industry. Was that the case, or is that just like an outsider's perception of that?
Well, most people had already been there. I mean, they made like about 65 shorts, and Fred Seibert had spearheaded that when he came in to be the new head of Hanna-Barbera. And yeah, you had a lot of people like Geddy Tartakovsky, Craig McCracken, Rob Renzetti. They had all been working on Two Stupid Dogs at Hanna-Barbera already. So there was a lot of people who were like animation veterans, but there were some people who were maybe right out of school who had maybe, I don't know, I'm trying to think of who might not have been there, but it's funny because I wasn't literally at the studio when they were making those at the time. But there were people from New York, like Courage the Cowardly Dog. That was all made for New York, and I know there's a lot of Canadian content as well. But yeah, it was mainly a lot of people who were already in the biz who had not had the chance to be unleashed that way, or at least were semi new to the biz as well. So I think that was a big thing because people had been held back for so long working on things that were just in the 80s. It was just made to sell toys. Or it's like, well, here's the baby version of this show or that. Some people, just I mean, Muppet Babies was like the original. And everybody said, let's just do that too, or whatever. But so people
Looney Tunes kids or Tom and Jerry kids.
Paul Dini was on Tiny Toons though, so at least that had like lineage to it. Yeah, that
was pretty good. Yeah, that's where the
it's just an example, Tom.
I know. I'm sorry. I have to defend it. I'm like, you get off of Tiny Toons' ass.
Sometimes there's the originals where people do, a new idea, and then there's all the people who try to copy it, right? I mean,
of course. I remember, but Muppet Babies had like that amazing. They had like a Star Wars entrance to them, when they were doing the Muppet Babies. That's But then they also did like Alvin the Chipmunks in that era. Like the actually, that was a little bit before that. I was like in the late '80s, going into the 90s when they did the Alvin the Chipmunk show with the Rockstar version or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So no, you go first, Alex.
No, I was going to say we're talking about these classic ideas and these IPs that have existed for a long time. What is it like taking on a classic property that's been around for X amount of years and being like, this is your responsibility now, Chris? Don't mess it up. Like, what is that like?
Well, luckily, by the time I've gotten the chance to do stuff like that, I've been pretty well established in the business. And a lot of times, what studios are doing, they just put out a call to everybody. They just say, we're thinking of doing a new this or that. And we're just having lots of people just take a stab at it. It's just a freelance job. Sometimes you're in-house already working on a series, or they just call you and you work on it at home. And they're just saying, we're just asking everybody to just do a little stab. Why don't you just do this? It's a little couple extra bucks or whatever. You have a little fun. You go, great. That just paid for my little vacation trip or the upgrade to my my computer equipment or something like that, right? And most times that's about all that happens. But sometimes they will zero in on one person and they'll say, we want you to help redesign it. So a lot of times that's just a thing where you just maybe do a week or two's worth of work and that's it, whatever. But yeah, sometimes they will actually do something for us. And sometimes in the case of like Teen Titans Go, it's like, oh well, everybody's already done a new Batman. There's been the Teen Titans, there's been other things. It's not live or dying by our hand. Anybody, like my friends made the new Animaniacs, and they were just like, yes, we got to get this right. It's pretty beloved. Yes. So they were doing it with a lot of care. And I mean, it turned out beautiful, and the fans love it too. Same with my friends who did Ducktales, the new Ducktales. I mean, that's another, holy property there. And they did a great job. I think the thing is like, you both have to have a real appreciation for the classic thing, but also not be so reverent that you're just got to make a carbon copy of the previous one, and not do anything new, but don't go too crazy, because then the fans will be put off by it. Maybe
a fine balance there in between what's right. Yeah.
Right. See, and that's another prime example of like something that speaks to my kids and their generation. I mean, it's 11, 8, and a 6-year-old, and they love the new DuckTales. But I've tried showing them like the old DuckTales when they went where they got the genie in the lamp, like that, because I loved that as a kid. Like my mom used to record like everything on VHS. That's like how she rolled. She recorded The Simpsons from like 1989 on the Tracy Ullman Show until today. She's still a DVR. Oh yeah, she was so good. Yeah. She'd make like there would be no commercials. and then she'd pause it and do it the whole thing. So it was like a DVD copy, essentially, way before DVDs were a thing. And that was our thing. So ever so often she'd get like, Ducktales, the movie would be on, ABC Family or whatever it might be. She would record that too and be like, oh, the kids will like this. And we had that. So I showed them that because I loved it. And they're like, meh, but show them the new DuckTales. And like, this is the greatest thing ever. What is this DuckTales? I'm like, man, I tried showing this to you years ago and you're really kicking down the balls right now. Like,
whenever I had tried to show my daughter the old Star Wars movies, she'd be like, those are old ones. And she was really down for any of the new ones, but she was really, really
nothing, child.
Yeah. she was really down for all the Marvel movies, 100%. Excellent. So by the time that Endgame had come around, she was fully indoctrinated, and we're like, nice. We're totally watching all the Disney Plus shows. So she is totally down. So I'm like, mission accomplished.
To the point where she's looking at you and she's like, Dad, you say that again, I'm gonna snap you out of existence. You're like, all right, calm down, take it easy. Yeah. Take it easy.
Well, that was our generation's thing, but she likes some Harry Potter too, but she kind of missed Harry Potter. She still likes to see those too, but she was fully there for the whole Marvel craze. So it's like that's their generation, Star Wars.
Speaking of generational things, like we're living in a TikTok era now. The short, snappy.
Yeah.
How has that affected the industry?
Not so much. I think the big effect to the industry has been streaming. That's the biggest thing. I mean, when you have new platforms, especially there was a huge shift because Netflix, of course, they were the first ones out of the gate with streaming, and they made a big push several years ago, which in the last year or so has begun to bear fruit with all their original series and films. And at the time, then Disney got next on board. I remember when I was last at Disney in 2019, they were really gearing up for all the Disney Plus debut that fall and finally getting some new content going for that. But then everybody else was kind of playing catch up, trying to figure out their stuff. But now everything's kind of set, and there's a lot more stuff just being made. They need to get it going. And I mean, when I got into the business, that was right about the beginning of the whole cable animation industry. Like just before I got in, that was when Nicktoons debuted. So that was a big shift, and this is another shift. But basically, there's just more work happening, which is cool, and there's more variety. It's not just like in the 80s, there was just that one thing. You're just selling toys, toy cartoons, and stuff like that. Yeah, but now there's so much going on and a lot of varied content, it's another exciting moment. I think it's going to be much like what a cartoon and what that did for creator properties in the 90s. There's a lot of stuff going on like that now.
Now that you've experienced both of the scenarios, like the scenario where you can have it all at once, or the scenario where we waited week to week to kind of catch up with your favorite show, do you have a preference to either one, or do you see do you see them both as being equally good?
Well, I mean, we've all binged stuff, and that's exciting, but it is not bad. Like going with the HBO or Disney Plus route, where you watch an episode and then you're like, oh, wow, I can't wait to see what's next. And you get to stew over it. You get to discuss it. Maybe you listen to the podcast afterward, and you're excited. And then things don't get completely spoiled for your friends. They could at least watch it a couple days later, and then you could go out to lunch and talk about it all.
Part of me hates that. Part of me loves it. I mean, like we were just talking about the newest episode of Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett. But we wouldn't be having that discussion if we weren't having to wait a week for every episode. We'd be like, oh my god, wasn't that season amazing? There was I like that. It's kind of nice.
I was just chatting with a friend of mine. He finally just was able to sit down and watch The Mandalorian. And he's like, wow. I'm only on chapter 11, no spoilers. And I'm like, there's gonna be some things you're gonna like coming. I'm trying to remember, not to spoil things for him, but I'm like, and he's saying, I can't wait to see if they're gonna have a this or a that. And I'm like, yeah, there's gonna be some robots or aliens you might be happy to see again, or something. I'm trying not, that's holy stuff, not to spoil things.
There might be a robot that sounds like Korg from I got a colleague in work at the moment. He keeps coming up to me and he's like, "Yeah, I'm watching Cobra Kai," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, which episode?" He's like, Season 1, episode 4, and then I went to him last week and I was like, what episode are you on? So I'm on that episode 6. I was like, how are you not watching one after the other of Cobra Kai? It's just insane. When it comes to like creating a brand new IP, things like that they've come to you and you've developed yourself from the beginning, and you need to find a voice talent for one of your creations. How important, have you ever like brought in has the the production company ever brought in a voice talent and you've gone, nah, that doesn't work, it doesn't sound like them? How does that work for you?
Well, I got to say, I'm not involved in that level of things. And so if I was a show creator, then I would maybe have that opportunity. But no, usually that's already done with by the time I'm involved, or at least sometimes maybe that's going on, and the showrunners will say, oh, look at this person or that person or something like that. But a lot of times it's usually figured out, or sometimes you maybe even get to hear a voice while you're designing the characters, and that helps inform that. Because if you get somebody and you're designing, they're like, well, I'm thinking this is like a big heavy guy with a broad chest, and they say, oh no, we got this older actor who's kind of small and has a gentle voice. You're like, oh no, that would be totally wrong. For that, I got to readjust my design or something like that. So usually the voice actor helps inform the design, at least where I'm involved.
So we've spoken a lot about who Chris Battle is right now, the things you've been involved in, which there's a lot more that we have not talked about, which we'll get to eventually. How does it all start for you, sir? Where does one start? Is it from a young age? Did you grow up one day just know that you want to be involved in this business? How's it go?
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough to grow up here in Santa Monica, California. That's near Los Angeles, so just a little closer to the beach. But out here in Los Angeles, the entertainment industry, movies and television and music, that is 100%, our major economic factor out here. So it's never really seen as like some kind of fantasy job. If you grow up in middle America, people say, oh, I want to be an actor. They're like, well, it's a nice dream, but you should, concentrate on a real job, like be a lawyer or get a job at the bank or something. But out here, you say you want to work in movies. It's like, oh, how would you like to work? Do you want to be like the costume designer, or do you want to be a writer? Or, and there's people who, build the sets and stuff like that. It's not all just about being the actor. It's a real job. So as a kid, I always loved drawing. My father, he was a photographer, and he taught vocational photography at a local community college. So that was all about not just being an arty photographer, but being able to get jobs. And so he knew that that's something you get real jobs. My mother, she discovered her art talent late in life. Her brother, he had been my uncle had been, he was a really talented artist as a child. And then because they lived in Chicago, he went into advertising for several years. And she was always like, I wish somebody had encouraged me to be an artist too. So when they saw I liked that, they just asked teachers and whatnot, what do we do for a kid who likes to draw? And they just said, we just give him more pencils and crayons and lots of paper. So they really encouraged that. And whenever there was maybe a book signing or an art show that was, where they were exhibiting all the props from a movie or art, or they had like old Disney artists who were doing book signing, we'd go out there and I get to meet them. Maybe I'd get a book. They would, buy me lots of art of books or cartoon books, comic books, whatever, just to feed that. So I was lucky to grow up with that support. Even I had a family friend who was an ex-Disney animator who was kind of an informal mentor to me.
Wow, and nice.
Yeah, and I had a high school that had a real big art curriculum, but then cartoons were kind of not looked at as real art at the time. Fortunately, my teacher, he actually saw the value in my cartoon art and always encouraged it, but it's kind of like, I don't really know where to go with this. I was a little aimless for a bit. And I realized, okay, I graduated high school and like, well, I need a job just to earn money. And I was looking around for something that would be interesting. And it turns out that Hanna-Barbera was opening up a retail store because they saw how the Disney retail stores had done so well. So they were opening up their own, and it was run by the animation studio. So I applied for that, and they thought, this guy's a real good candidate. He knows cartoons. So got the job there, and they would like take us up to Hanna-Barbera Studios to teach everybody about how animation works. And I was like, I know how it works already. I'm all good, But they had all the employees would come down to the store, and they would get like an employee discount. And our manager said, as soon as anybody shows you that card and tells you they're an employee, you give them the royal treatment, because that's the reason we have a job here. So I got to know a lot of the artists there. And there was the head artist, Scott Gerald. He was the main character designer there at the studio. I'm helping him out. My manager says, "Oh, this guy draws cartoons too," and I'm just like, "Shut up! I don't have anything." And he says, "He's got some doodles here," and Scott says, "Oh, yeah, why don't you show me some of your stuff?" He just figures I'm like this nice sales guy who's helped out his family, and so I sheepishly pull out my doodles, and he's like, "These are pretty good. If you ever want to come by the studio and bring some more like finished pieces, your real portfolio, just come on by." And so I wound up doing that, and he's all, "These are actually pretty good. Those doodles are nice, but these are pretty good. Why don't you keep in touch? Maybe something might happen." And, after a corporate buyout, when Turner Broadcasting bought Hanna-Barbera, they got rid of the retail stores. They didn't have too many of those. But I kept in touch with Scott, just sending him actual like snail mail to Hanna-Barbera Studios. It was a little bit difficult, but I mean, it was nearby in town, not too hard. And there was one point in the early 90s where he and a bunch of other artists had left Hanna-Barbera because Fred Seibert took over. They were changing things and they were building what would become the whole What a Cartoon system. And so a lot of them had left, and they were at MGM Animation doing a new Pink Panther cartoon. And he said, "Hey, would you like to come on board?" And I was like, "You bet." And that was a really lucky time because that was right when animation was really making a comeback. Because there have been the Simpsons have been on it. This is post Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I think. Yeah, and that was just after like Beauty and the Beast. So Nicktoons had started. MTV was really happening with Beavis and Butthead, and things were really rolling. And there was a time where there was not enough talent to meet all the needs, so they were really just trying out anybody who could hold a pencil. And it was still like kind of a training thing. So I got in there. Not having gone to art school, having zero experience, I was so green. I didn't know what I was doing, but they gave me the time to kind of learn how to do it. So it was really about timing and having that opportunity. I really got lucky that way.
That sounds like such a nice, nurturing environment to be in. And so if you mess up, it's okay, kid, try again. There's kind of mentorship. That sounds kind of rare these days to think about,
I was convinced I was going to be fired. And I mean, in the old days, they would bring in somebody like, "Okay, what's your name? Chuck Jones. You're going to be washing cells here. You're going to wash the paint off because we recycle cells. And then maybe after a year, we'll let you hold a pencil," or something like that. It used to be that kind of apprentice kind of a thing. So I was really lucky. I was sure I was going to get fired because I didn't know how to do anything. And he just said, no, you're not ready for characters, but here, why don't you do props? You can do cars and the box of dynamite and the anvil and stuff like that. And then I slowly began to learn, and it's just been like nonstop learning like that every new job. So I was lucky I had the time.
Wow, you must have been able to see some amazing things, like because they had like the old Funimation things along those times. I mean, like you must have been able to see some amazing animation cells that generally just are not seen by the general public.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes there was stuff like when I was at Klasky Csupo, one of the things they had in their hallways, they had all the painted animation paintings for the Beastie Boys Shadrach video, where they literally painted over live action footage of them performing. And those are just, you could walk one length of the hall to the other and just kind of see it, this painted stuff over their concert footage. And there was like amazing pieces for like presentations that were never made, like a giant cell for a presentation they did for a Peter and the Wolf thing that never got realized, but actually made by Russian animators. I'm like, this would be so cool. But there's lots of classic animation cells, and they used to still give some of those away, like as Christmas gifts for things. I speaking of nerdy DC things, they had a time where they for Christmas they would have these big boxes of gift wrapped cells. And you would just reach into it, grab this one, that one. I don't know. Open up. What'd you get? I got one from the Batman New Adventures. When they redesigned them. Yeah, I got one of Robin from the Over the Edge episode, the one where they have the drug-induced dream thanks to the Scarecrow's fear toxin that Commissioner Gordon is hunting them as criminals. And so that's like a great one to have.
That's something I really kind of miss of the old animation style. Is like if you loved something so much, like if you really loved Huckleberry Hound, episode in particular, you could get a piece of that. Nowadays, it's all digital, so you can get that. You can't own any of that. I mean, is that a shame?
Especially with the NFT stuff now, you can you can buy a still from the Powerpuff Girls and stuff, and you own that. That's it.
But I mean, you can still buy artwork from like original artwork from the original artists. And on some shows, I mean, everything's really more digital, but there's still some shows where you can find at least pencil art if they did it all digital. I mean, like Samurai Jack was all done digitally in the color, but there is pencil, artwork for that. Yeah, that's one of mine. But even the
get out of here! All right.
Yeah. But even the animation was at least still done with pencil, and you could buy those. Or actually, one of the production designers for Big City Greens was sharing on Twitter. He was sharing a bunch of actual paper animation cleanup art that he got, because Big City Greens, they still animate that with pencil. I mean, then it gets colored digitally, but there's still actual physical artwork for that. So,
well, the best thing about these sort of things, I mean, we've spoken to artists from around the world. Like Mike Perkins came on our show, who is the inker for Swamp Thing. Amazing guy, great artist. He's like, yeah, I can sit on my computer and I can just smash off this work and send it over to Warner Brothers or to DC or whatever, and it'd be done. There you go. And he's here in Shrewsbury in the UK, and that's the beauty of digital art. Is it the same for you? Can you just crack on with work and send it off to wherever it needs to go?
That has been how it's evolved. I mean, definitely when I got started, it was lucky to be just here in LA, because everybody had to move here to LA. But there was probably, like, I guess in the late 90s, some of us were able to start, like, you would FedEx stuff or fax stuff. And then once the internet started, well, forget about it. Yeah, I've done stuff for all over the world. These days, it's really kind of standard. And thanks to the pandemic, there's a lot less restrictions on people working, because there's been no in-person in-studio work here in Los Angeles animation. In fact, on my current show, Middlemost Post at Nickelodeon, I've been working on that for nearly 2 years. Most of our crew, we have not met each other in real life. We've seen pictures of our work area that's all decorated for the show, but none of us have ever been in there. We've all just been working remotely. And there's a lot of shows where they have people from all over the world working on them, because there's no such restrictions at the moment. I mean, who knows if that might change? Hopefully not. I'd like everybody to get a chance to be able to do this if they have the talent. But yeah, it's pretty cool now. You can just work from home. I mean, I miss working in the studio, but
yeah, I was going to say,
yeah, definitely. But thank God for social media, instant messaging, and video chats. As a crew, our crew, we all love each other. It's great. We're like, man, we really need to get together once these spikes and Omicron stop, so we could just at least get together in a park or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. Go on, Tom.
It is. But fortunately, like me and Alex met over the internet. So like we started doing this a couple years prior. Yeah, we did. Like we meet all of our men. So like a couple years prior to COVID actually becoming a thing. So like at first it was kind of strange to ask people to come on to these interviews over the internet, like video calling, like it's not an in-person thing. You don't have a studio. Like, well, I mean, Alex has a studio, but we don't generally do this. This is how we do the show over the way. And some people were reluctant, but they kind of got it afterwards. And
especially for us British.
Yeah.
Will you want me to call you on the phone and I want to see your face as well? No, thank you. Rather not, thanks.
But slowly but steadily, of course, COVID happened, and then everybody was doing this. So me and Alex were 10 years ahead of everybody else with this whole setup and just getting the whole thing going. So we're like, yeah, we got this. Here's the link. Let's just get this going. And it was really convenient, actually. So thank goodness for COVID. I don't know. That's a horrible.
But what I did want to ask you was though about that is, do you feel like this new generation of animators, artists that maybe in the 90s, 80s, 90s would chuck in a bullpen with other animators where they could sit and chat and sort of circle ball? Do you think they're being robbed of that kind of camaraderie that you may have had in an animator's studio?
Well, obviously a little bit. I mean, I can't speak to everybody's experience in their studios, but I know for us, we always have like Microsoft Teams open, and we'll have a general chat. But then because we're such a fun crew, we have now we have a video game chat channel. We even have obviously everybody's animals. As soon as your pets, because all of our pets are loving us being home, as soon as everybody's pets are hopping up into their lap or walking by the camera, they're like, okay, everybody, let's have a pet channel so we could share videos and things where
this is Mr. Sassy.
Yeah, well, it's funny is that so many people know one of our director's cats. that like when we needed a joke for the show where somebody was posting a poster looking for their lost cat, they actually inserted an actual photograph in the 2-dimensional cartoon looking for the cat. We're like, yes, he made it into the show. It's silly. So we really try to do that, and our crew, we actually have things where the showrunners will set up like special activities. We're like, okay, what does everybody want to do? You want to do a cheese tasting thing? You want to do a drink mixing thing? We'll do a virtual escape room. We're all going to do that as a team. And then we all get on a Zoom call, and they actually will send a package of either cheese or drinks or cookies or whatever. And we'll all get together like that. We got together. Yeah. It works here. We had one crew member who had never seen Nightmare Before Christmas. And this is around Christmas time. We said, all right, we're all going to get on Zoom and do a group
and berate them.
We have the chat. We have the chat open so we could all goof on them or even share weird little cartoon tidbits that we all knew. And we're like, yeah, this works out pretty good. But I think we all got over that after the first year. We're like, oh, this would be so much better if we could be just right across the cubicle from each other and see what the other person's doing and just hang out.
Nice.
But, of course, most artists, especially younger artists now, they don't need so much of that thing of the person next door to learn. They've already got all of the internet they've been learning from, because all of us artists are sharing our artwork, and you can find any animation from around the world anywhere, even some like hidden stuff that isn't on Netflix. You could find it on the internet. So it's amazing the source material that today's artists have. I'm envious, but I try to take advantage of that as much as I can too. It's a good time.
I'd leave a Facebook chat. They got rooms now, aren't they, on Facebook? I'll leave one of them open tonight for the NFL, but if I wasn't at work and supposed to be working, well, I'll be sat there chatting to NFL people on social media. Well, I think, Tom, we need to talk about a certain person in particular, and that's this guy. This guy and a certain black t-shirt wearing blonde mop head guy changed Nicktoons and Cartoon Network as well. That's Cartoon Network, yeah. Dexter and Johnny Bravo, when all that kind of got that released, it just exploded. I remember it was everywhere, and that must have been massive for you. Huge.
Yeah, it was pretty wild because, obviously, like I mentioned, growing up in the 70s and the 80s, there was all these like really, as a little kid, I was watching like classic stuff, be it like Disney or Looney Tunes, especially, or the old like 50s Hanna-Barbera, like Yogi Bear and Flintstones and stuff like that. And then like anime came in, and that was cool. And then there was all this stuff like the toy stuff, G.I. Joe and Ninja Turtles and things like that. Ninja Turtles is probably as I was getting a little bit older, but as an animation fan who at least stayed involved when Nicktoons came around, I saw Ren and Stimpy. It was like, whoa, what is this? It was a very exciting time to be getting into stuff, but especially the Cartoon Network shorts. I remember we all just locked on to like Dexter's Laboratory and the original Powerpuff Girls. I can't remember. Yeah, I guess that was called Whoop Ass Stew, but they were named the Powerpuff Girls. It was in college. The Craig short was called the Whoop Ass Girls. But yeah, there were several of those shorts that really stood out. And once we knew that they were making more shorts, we're like, this is cool, this is great, And when we knew it was going to series, that was even better, and of course, even better than that was getting the chance to work on it, because both as an animation fan and also as a new artist who was still learning, that really gave me a chance to work on something that spoke to me, that was exciting. And because I had never gone to art school, all of a sudden I was working with all these Cal Arts grads who were like the top of the top. And also there's a lot of the crew from the original Ren and Stimpy cartoons was on this as well. So all of a sudden I was soaking up all this knowledge from like just the best in the business. And it was like such a great learning experience for me. And then working on something that also like all animation fans and even just kids and regular people liked as well. It kind of ticked all the boxes,
Man, how exciting that must have been. I mean, and now did working on Dexter's Laboratory end up like kind of leading into the Samurai Jack of it all? Because of course they're part of the same network. And how did that go about?
Well, first it was Powerpuff Girls, because I think at the time they did, they did all the shorts, and some of them were getting the highest numbers, and they did focus groups. And I think the focus groups is a bunch of children where they get together, like at least a dozen, 7 to 11-year-olds or whatever. And I think you've probably seen that parodied in The Simpsons.
Yes.
With Poochie, the Poochie episode.
Yes.
Yeah. it is pretty much like that from what I've heard. And I guess there was like when there was a bunch of boys got together, and like the younger boys would watch the Powerpuff Girls and were like, yeah, we kind of like that. They were like punching them. And there was this one older kid who was more the alpha jock kid who's all, it's stupid. It's about a bunch of girls. And these little boys who have been digging it were like, yeah, that was stupid because it was girls. And, so they just said that, okay, well, people like Dexter's more. We'll do Dexter's. And because everybody was still pretty young in their 20s, they gave them the chance to make their own show. And when Genndy was able to deliver, they said, okay, you guys are definitely got the stuff. What we want to do is then we'll go do Powerpuff Girls next, because Craig served as the art director for Dexter's. And so then when we pretty much right about when Hanna-Barbera was closing up, because Turner had been acquired by AOL Time Warner. So we were absorbed into Warner Brothers Animation. So one of the last things we did before we left Hanna-Barbera and went over to Warner Brothers, Craig did the pitch for the first Powerpuff Girls series episode. And so Genndy would serve as like a executive producer on that, and Craig is the showrunner. So we just moved over to this new building, same crew, maybe with a couple extra heavy hitters as well. And then we did Powerpuff Girls for several years. And then when they realized that, well, Warner Brothers Animation, that's more like we're doing, like the Looney Tunes, and we're doing all the Batman, the Bruce Timm verse. They said, you guys are kind of different. So they built Cartoon Network studios across town for us. And the Hanna-Barbera properties like Scooby-Doo, Flintstones, all that stayed with Warner Brothers. But then we went over, we were all like, we're doing all the new stuff right now. And so we were still finishing up Powerpuff Girls. But at the time, Genndy took one of our main designers away, and they said, we're going to work on a little secret something for a while. And we weren't really sure what it was. Genndy was kind of secretive about it. But then eventually, as we were finishing up Powerpuff Girls, and we were kind of, I think they were doing pre-production on the Powerpuff Girls movie, that's when Genndy showed everybody this test movie, this little short, 2 or 3 minute test movie of Jack fighting against all the Beetle robots, and our jaws just dropped. We're like, whoa, it was a constant leveling up. Dexter's Lab was great, and then Powerpuff Girls, we took it up another notch, and then with that, it was like, yeah, we're really cooking on that. So yeah, a lot of us just went right over to Samurai Jack, and some people doing Powerpuff, and then we would leapfrog back and forth. Like, okay, we're done with that first season. Now you work on the Powerpuff movie. Done with that, we're going over to Dexter's Lab. Then more Samurai Jack and Powerpuff, so that was about like 7 years I was doing that. Some of the other crew even longer, but yeah, it just kept leveling up, which was a pretty cool place to be.
It's nice. We do have a question from one of our listeners, actually, who wrote in about Samurai Jack. And I know you said this is a project that was being worked on before you had your chance to get your hands onto it. But from what you may have known, what you may have heard, how much of an influence was the original Ronin comic on Samurai Jack? And where did the choice of deviating from the original set storyline? That's from Graham Arnold, by the way.
It's hard to remember now, but I do remember that must have been somewhere in the mix, because we were all of the same age, and we were all young teens in the 80s. So I'm pretty sure that Genndy had seen that. I just know there was such a mishmash of everything. Definitely the Kurosawa films, David Lean films, and Lone Wolf and Cub, who even worked its way in there. And there's tons of anime. I mean, it's all there in the cartoon, where you see like, oh, this is our big Loop on the Third episode, or this one is based on that thing. This is our jazz blues thing, going on. Or yeah, there's so many different things. I mean, I guess that is perfect for a Gen X crowd, especially when you throw in like hip hop and things like that, where it's all about recontextualizing past things. And of course, we were the original Star Wars kids, which is a total recontextualization of Flash Gordon and Kurosawa and medieval myths and everything. So yeah, I know that Ronin was, it was somewhere in the mix for sure. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Graham, for that. Graham's always a great contributor of ours.
He is. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. I haven't heard of him for a while, so that's great. I have another question from Ryan Berger. He's another one of our listeners. He says, "What was it like working on El Super Bisto?"
Oh yeah, that was an interesting one. That was. I wound up joining up with that because a lot of my friends were on it. Originally, the director was Doug Lawrence, aka Mr. Lawrence, who most people know as the voice of Plankton on SpongeBob, and he's also an animator in his own right, animation director. And several of my friends who I worked with on Powerpuff Girls and Samurai Jack were working on that as well. And we have been working on that for maybe around a year. And then I think the studio was being sold to another conglomerate, and they were really getting pumped up about all these new movies, like good CGI movies and stuff. And they looked at our little thing. They're like, "Wait, this thing is a R-rated thing." And what's this? There's like naked girls, and we don't know what this thing is. And so they kind of just shut it down, and they just put everything in a box, on the shelf. And we're like, okay, well, that almost happened. And then Rob Zombie's, I think it was his Halloween remake came out, but because this was all came from his characters, and all of a sudden Rob Zombie was hot, and they said, "Wait a minute, don't we have something from Rob Zombie on the shelf?" And
wait a minute, we set off really quick.
we had all moved on and everything, and so I think they just dusted it off the shelf. It was only like kind of pre-production. I think there was a rough storyboard animatic. We hadn't even completed all the designs. There was just a couple, rough things and concepts and stuff like that. They pretty much got a completely different crew to do it all. So and then we thought it was going to be theatrical, and then it only came out to DVD. But the final product was definitely pretty different from what we worked on. It's like I wish I had saved a copy of that animatic so people could have seen the original storyline or the original look. But for a while it was a fun thing to do, to get to draw a bunch of monsters and go-go dancers and stuff like that, and then luchadors. Just hanging out with friends, because that's kind of the blue sky phase when it's like that, So we just got to have a lot of fun doing that. So
when I went and saw Rob Zombie, my little sister, I love her so much. She's a good kid. She's not a kid anymore, obviously, but she was a kid at the time. She surprised me one Christmas with tickets to go see Rob Zombie, which is one of those people that I knew he was coming to town, but I didn't really think about it. I was like, oh, whatever. That's cool. I'll hear about it. And she surprised me for Christmas. She's like, here, Tommy. And I was like, oh, cool. And I was like, holy shit, Rob Zombie tickets. And I was going with her. And that was one of the things they showed, because they show stuff in the background, either in between sets or while he's actually doing the actual show. And one of the things was parts of El Super Bisto, which that's how I became hip to the whole concept of it. And I watched the movie afterwards. Like, oh yeah, I saw some of this. I really want to see it. It was really, really cool. Really stunning artwork.
I'm just looking at it now. I've never heard. Forgive my ignorance. I've never heard of El Super Bisto. I'm just looking at some of the imagery now. It looks amazing. I really need to watch this thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So what's next for you, sir? What's obviously there's some things you just can't talk about, obviously, because whatever the MDAs and non NDAs, excuse me, NDA, that's ecstasy. All the NDAs and all that jazz. But what is going on for Chris Battle nowadays? What are you up to?
Well, right now I'm still working for Nickelodeon on Middlemost Post, and that's been airing since last fall on Nickelodeon and Nicktoons UK. I think it debuted in December, I think. And so we're busy doing that, all remotely. So that's there's still more of that to come. And there's always some things that I have to think. I'm like, that one's still NDA. I can't do anything of that. And some things, you do it and you don't even know if anything's going to happen for that. So sometimes it's a surprise if something ever comes of those secret NDA things. And you're like, well, I think it's been 5 to 10 years now. I guess I can reveal it or something. But sometimes you just have to stay so quiet about stuff. It's ridiculous. But right now it's all Nicktoons, all Middlemost Post.
Excellent. I can't believe that I put this away when Alex was asking this question. Out of all the properties that you've seen, and all the properties that obviously growing up that you loved, what was one that you really wish you had the opportunity to, just take a whack at or take a crack at that you were like, I wish I could have been a part of that?
One I'm still hoping for in some way, as a Gen Xer, I would love to do anything Star Wars. And I was so close to that because literally while we were there working on Powerpuff Girls and things like that, Gendy was doing the original Clone Wars micro series with just a skeleton crew of the last couple people who were almost finished up on the final season of Samurai Jack. And pretty much all of us were like, Gendy, if you need an extra hand, just everybody. It was just like ridiculous. But I'm lucky enough that I've gotten to do pretty much almost every property I've ever grown up with, whether it's something that only went towards development or something that was active, be it like Looney Tunes or Scooby Doo or Flintstones. Even a few years ago, thanks to working on Teen Titans Go, an art director for Marvel saw my work, and I did a bunch of consumer products work for them, which they're constantly making T-shirts and even like Disneyland merch from and stuff like that. So I'm like, yeah, I got to do real Marvel. Yeah, it's wild. I had to sit on that for a really long time and not mention it, but then finally they start releasing things, and even every other year they start putting out stuff. I had no idea they were making stuff like that. I haven't even seen some of the stuff. Some merchandise I haven't seen some of those characters yet, but some of them keep popping up. But if I ever get to do something Star Wars, I'm like, that would be it. Maybe who knows?
Then I can die happy.
Yeah, you poochie yourself out. I was like, well, kids, I must go to my home planet now. I've done Star Wars. And you just
I would just lay down and take a very long nap for like 20 years.
Dad, you're not dead. I'm dead. I did Star Wars.
I'm retired.
Don't talk to Dad.
Yeah.
Give me slippers. I'm a smoking jacket. And I'm just going to sit on the porch and enjoy watching some set. We got to talk about though the IPs that you have worked on, because that's where I thought you were going with that, Tom. That's why I brought that up.
I'm not as clever as you. Give me.
There are a few here that you've worked on from the get-go that are just blown up out of huge proportion. Like you talk about Dexter's Laboratory, Powerpuff Girls, Teen Titans. What do you think is the biggest project you've worked on that's made you go, holy shit, this thing's gone big? Like,
well, I mean, it's weird. There was like this gradual thing that happened when we were working on Powerpuff Girls, because we're like, wow, we really did a cool show. That's rad. And then when that literally became like this phenomenon at the time, it just worked. I mean, I think there was like, we were doing that in the early days of the internet, where there were more like, chat forums and things like that, where people were talking about it. And that was right up to like the whole mid to late 90s girl power thing really took hold. And so there was a lot of coverage for that. And, you couldn't go anywhere in like the year 2000 without seeing either South Park or Powerpuff Girls stuff in every store, even in all the supermarkets. So that was like an actual phenomenon. And it was like a quality product. It'd probably be kind of disappointing if you worked on some real crap and everybody loved that. And you're like, this isn't a good thing. I don't like it. But no, we were very proud of Powerpuff Girls and very excited by that. That was definitely a big one. And then Samurai Jack, for people within our industry and like the hardcore animation fans, that was a really big one. That's another one to be proud of being a part of. I would have been a huge fan even if I hadn't worked on it, but the fact that I got to have a hand in it, I mean, I don't think it ever got big ratings. I mean, it was just because of Gendy's track record and his relationship to the executives. They're like, we're going to keep renewing this because we like our relationship with you. And I mean, the fans liked it, yeah. And when your peers also actually really enjoy it, that's pretty cool too. Yeah, those are always the biggest things. Dexter's, Powerpuff, and Samurai Jack. That's like such a cornerstone of my entire career. And it's also like really great people, really great lifelong friends. Now we're all so tight after so many years together. Our kids all play with each other now and stuff like that.
Nice.
And even if we're not working together, we're still messaging each other. I was messaging my friend last night, Andy Bialk. We were the character crew for Dexter's Laboratory and Powerpuff and a lot of those shows. And we were just messaging each other because we wanted to talk about Mandalorian and Boba Fett, So there's certain people who are just your go-to people to message on stuff like that. So we all still keep in touch.
Great topic. I mean, I can't believe people are hating on that show. We think it's perfect.
But it wouldn't be Star Wars. It wouldn't be new Star Wars if people weren't complaining about it.
The Mandalorian was so universally loved. There was very little chatter about like, oh, the Mandalorian wasn't great. I mean, I loved Book of February off the gate. I love The Godfather and things along those lines. So the idea of like a crime story of Boba Fett kind of coming into town, being the new crime Lord and kind of cleaning up and running it the way he does, the involvement in the Tusken Raiders, everything about it. It just really spoke to me. And I even told Alex, I was like, dude, I think I like it more than Mandalorian. And that's not to get, take anything away from Mandalorian. I just happen
I was like, why Iota?
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to fly a couple thousand miles over the ocean, come and smack you. And I'm like, all right.
Only time I've physically threatened him. We got a couple more questions off Facebook. Carolina Whiteley says, it's my wife, by the way. I shouldn't.
Yeah, that's her wife.
My darling wife. Who you spoke to on Instagram.
She messaged you, really. She did just from across the kitchen, no talking.
She
right?
did.
Well, yeah. But she says, which is your favorite Teen Titans Go character?
I would have to say Cyborg. I mean, first of all, just as a character, he's so much fun. But as an artist, oh my God, I drew so much Cyborg. Because he's always transforming and popping out weapons and turning into weird stuff. So yeah, definitely had a lot to do with a lot of Cyborg stuff all the time. So he's a lot of fun.
My kids sing that song all the time. Waffles, 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 waffles. I promise you, like, it's every single day thing. And my youngest really loves those characters. I'm gonna have to tell him after, like, hey man, I spoke to the guy that actually kind of got this, like that. The way that this looks is the reason that he's, that's gonna be really cool to him for a hot second. Not much penetrates my kids, which is a good thing, I guess. But I mean, like, not a lot. Like, kind of goes from what I tell them. Very rarely do I brag about what I do. I don't like shove it in their faces. I might tell the wife, like, hey, by the way, I spoke to this person who's, involved with this or that. But ever so often I talk to somebody like yourself where I'm like, hey, by the way, that thing you love, Daddy spoke to somebody that's involved. And they're like, yeah, Dad's our hero for 30 seconds. And then we lose interest.
And then there's things that take us by surprise. Like, oh yeah, we're speaking to Carol Baskin at the weekend. They're like, are you? Well, fuck you then.
Yeah, you're the most famous man I've ever met in my life. My God,
you speak to her. Like, that was such a weird thing. I can't get that out of my head.
As a man that's involved in the arts, what do you watch for animation right now that kind of like fuels your juices? You're like, ooh, that's really clever. Like I'm really into like Rick and Morty and stuff. So is Alex. Like obviously he's in blips and chips around him, but like what kind of stuff like that interests you?
Well, I got to say, Netflix has really got a lot of good stuff happening. I mean, City of Ghosts is like amazing. I mean, it's like a love letter to Los Angeles, and not the Los Angeles that people think of. But it's Beverly Hills and movie stuff. It's like, no, there's all these real cool pockets of LA that are full of like local people and restaurants and businesses. And there's also just the look and the tone of it is so unique. Gosh, Arcane is like amazing. I mean, that was such a revelation. That's kind of what I've been waiting for animation to become, probably for the last like 20 years or so. I was just thinking, like, we have all these digital tools. Why is it only look one way? I mean, we all love The Incredibles and all that. But I'm like, when are we going to have a different look? And so we're finally starting to see some of that going on. And Star Wars Visions was super cool. Excellent. I mean, yeah. Any anime. I mean, come on, anime fan and Star Wars fan. It's like it's the ultimate Reese's peanut butter cup combination of two wonderful things.
I'm struggling with anime, and this is the thing I have to keep explaining to people. I don't hate anime, right? I really don't. I like it for what it is, but I personally, I can't get on. No, I don't hate it. I can't attach myself to it. My daughter is anime crazy. She absolutely loves them. But I just can't get. I don't know what it is.
Well, there's so many different styles within what you think of as anime. I mean, when people think of anime, they're all, with the robots and the girls with the big eyes. They're like, no, watch
big eyes. I like how you went there. The big eyes.
Yeah. You watch Hayao Miyazaki's movies. For a quiet, beautiful fantasy family thing, or watch Satoshi Kon's movies. Like watch Tokyo Godfathers. Something that's like if somebody said, I don't like American movies. Like, what do you mean? Well, I don't like Transformers. I'm like, well, there's more. There's indie movies. There's dramatic movies. Right? I think if you kind of drill down in there, you're probably going to find something that you would dig. Similar to comic books.
I like One Punch Man. One Punch Man is the only one I enjoy, and I can sit and enjoy that. That's the only one I like.
There's so much stuff out there if you dig. It's like if people said, American comic books. Like, we are still widely stuck in the infancy of that. But then there's all the indie comic books and creator-owned things. There's gems out there everywhere. That's the beauty of all the internet and streaming and the nichification of everything. There's all these individual voices that are out there. We're not stuck just watching the one prevalent style. So it's a good time, I think.
I think the best way to kind of get an anime is the way that I did it. I got an anime before I even knew what anime was. Like I was watching things like the original Dragon Ball, and like I was like, wow, this is just so cool, and the storyline and everything that's going on with it. And then it was only years later that I was like, oh, this is anime. Okay, this like I remember like my parents had like this weird Jesus movie that was about like Jesus handing out the fish and stuff. It was drawn in Japanese animation. I had no idea that was actually like a style of drawing and like a whole culture involved around it. And it just happened to be that I just really dug it. I think that's a really good way to go about it, is to not be kind of given the hype behind anime and just kind of observe it for what it really is.
This is just a thing. Why is it so cool? Oh, it's done in this country and they do other cool things. Like when I was a kid, one of the first things I watched was Battle of the Planets, which I later learned was Gatchaman. And I mean, come on, it's got like flying birds, superhero ninjas, and they're like fighting all these guys and in these giant underground, underwater bases. And then they get in a cool spaceship and everybody's got their separate vehicles and they combine together to fight a giant like mantis robot with a flaming bird. I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. I mean, love that. And then, like mid 80s came around and they had Robotech, which combined those 3 different series into one longer narrative. And like, it was like a drama. It was like being a kid and watching Game of Thrones just to see, oh my God, they killed that guy and he's dead. That never happened when you were at cartoons. Yeah, it was like so dramatic. And then a couple episodes later, they killed another guy. It's just a show about a giant robot war, and they actually had consequences. That was when I was probably like 14.
When I was
really was all in. Yeah,
we had Animals of Farthing Wood when we were kids, and it was like this English cartoon, and it was about like badgers and foxes and stuff, and they were just trying to live in the countryside. And then there'd be this really dramatic episode where one of the animals was like hit by a car and died. Like this was like proper kids TV. This was on CITV. Like this was like, what?
It's like generational trauma.
They killed the bunny, man. They killed the bunny. It's just I do have another question. Sorry, Tom.
No, I was going to say because we are
2 more to get through. That's it. But you can.
Okay, really quickly. What is one adult joke that you're glad that you got inside the cartoon before? Like somebody like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of BuzzFeed articles about that. Wow, I think I do remember Miss Cerebellum, who is on the Powerpuff Girls. That is the mayor's assistant, who actually, because her name is Cerebellum, she's that is the handles all the higher functioning for the brain. She's really the boss of it. I think I remember one of the storyboard artists put her address to her really cool home. It was like Yodel in the Valley. And it was like yodeling in the valley. It's a oral sex joke, so that's one I heard. And I think that was also in an episode where they had a whole bunch of Big Lebowski jokes and stuff like that.
Yes.
Craig was a huge Big Lebowski fan, and as most of us were. But yeah, he really wanted to get a lot of that in there. So that was cool.
How much of that can you get away with? We were speaking to, obviously, I mentioned Mike Perkins we were speaking to, and I was like, can comic book artists leave little like naughty little Easter eggs maybe just hidden in the corner there? So can you do that in animation too?
Well, especially in the digital age, it's a little bit harder because everything's in HD. And once people were able to freeze frame stuff, I think that's when Disney had to go back and get rid of things, little gags that people put into like Who Framed Roger Rabbit when Jessica Rabbit's skirt flies up and she's got nothing on. They had to change that. But we don't try to do anything really dirty, but usually we just try to put like little nerdy jokes, like magazine covers and stuff. And Teen Titans Go, the background artist, obviously get to have tons of fun because they could, because Dan Hipp is the art director and he kind of leads that crew. And they're just like, well, if there's going to be a little doll in the corner, it's going to be a Dark Side doll or a Dr. Manhattan doll. Or if there's a magazine in the corner, it's going to be a teen beat kind of romance magazine, but it's going to talk about how dreamy Animal Man is or something. Yep. So yeah, they got to have the most fun for sure. But the most we got to do as character designers is like if they said, well, there's just a generic character here with the camera goes by. Can I make it Nuclear Man from the Superman 4, The Quest for Peace? They're like, okay,
Excellent. Love it.
Like, I'm gonna make this. Okay, there's two people standing at a party, and one guy's from the back. I'm just gonna make him Metamorpho, and the other guy's gonna be Booster Gold, and stuff. Okay, fine.
Sure, go for it. You're like, yes, I got it. I win. Another one for Chris Battle.
Yeah,
another war one for Battle.
I think all that pop culture stuff used to be a lot easier back in the 90s. Like, if you look at the original run of Dexter's Lab, everything is a joke of Tron or Star Wars or anime. But once IP became a big thing, everybody said, "Oh, we don't think you can add that because we'll get sued by so and so." Or even like when you're dealing with big conglomerates, so like so and so is planning on making a movie of that thing, and we can't touch anything with that. But I think on Titans we got like a wide berth because. I think because Robin, anything from the Titans we could do, and because of Robin, we had access to pretty much all the Batman characters, but especially if it was like those real C-listers that only the nerds will love, like basically anybody who might show up on Peacemaker,
Condiment Man,
I think I actually did Matter Eater Lad once or something. If they're making a joke on Peacemaker about them, they might have shown up somewhere on Teen Titans Go.
Amazing.
Teen Titans Go movie, by the way, because I used to sit and watch Teen Titans. It was on Cartoon Network, and have the kids, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm watching this." I'm a big Batman nerd. I love that sort of stuff. But the movie for me, just oh my god, it was so amazing. It was just so brilliant. Like the callbacks that you would make during the movie was just like it was so. It's such a fan service for us older geeks,
Yeah. That is definitely what Teen Titans Go is about. People who will be the detractors will complain, "Oh, it's just this kid stuff. It's farts and whatever." Like, yeah, but if you're really watching it, there's all these like '80s jokes about '80s pop culture where what happens if Cyborg gets the Green Lantern's ring? Well, he makes a green energy construct of the Golden Girls, stuff like that. I had to draw the cast of Webster because we had a joke where Cyborg, like an old guy, is explaining what VCR tapes are and explaining about what Webster is, stuff like that. So there's so much deep dive into either pop culture, but especially all the deep nerdy DC lore that only super nerds know. So that's great where people caught on to that, especially when the internet really caught on to when they went through like the like Batman's garage or something, and there was a urn there that was labeled Robin II with a crowbar leaning up against it, referencing when they killed off that Robin in the Death in the Family storyline. I think that's when people really got behind the show.
Excellent.
Right, we've got one more question from Facebook, and then I've got one question from our past guest. This is a cool thing we've been doing recently. But Graham Arnold, again, he asks, who'd win in a battle royale if all of your characters that you worked on all went into a fight?
Oh, wow. That's tough. For brute strength, I mean, the Powerpuff Girls would obviously win. Like if Dexter had a giant robot, he could hold his own, but we've seen the Powerpuff Girls totally trash all of Mojo Jojo's like 3-story tall monkey robots. But of course, Jack, he has all the strategy and the battle skill. That's kind of like one of those who would win, Batman or Wolverine. You're like, I think Batman outsmarts everybody, and I think Samurai Jack would outsmart anyone. Or especially if the Powerpuff Girls were going to fight him, he would be super zen about it and bob and weave and dodge, and then maybe get some real good spiritual thing about why are they fighting and we shouldn't fight, and probably
yeah. That's good. And my answer to Graham is get a hobby. We all wonder these things. Now, what we're starting to do now is we are trying to ask our guests to ask our next guest a question. They don't know who's coming on the show. We thought it was quite a cool thing. And our question to you from our last week's guest, which was magician Steve Spade. How's it going, Steve? If you're watching the show. He asks you, who has influenced you more throughout your life, men or women?
Yeah, no,
tough one. Yeah. I think just because of the nature of the business, unfortunately, there's been more men who have gotten more of their opportunity. But I gotta say though, it's kind of evened out a little bit over the years, because I definitely And when I started my professional career, I learned about a lot of really great women artists over the years, be it, from the 1960s, like Alice Provenson, was a great mid-60s artist, to even my contemporaries like Lynn Naylor, who worked on like the original Batman animated and Ren and Stimpy, and then worked on Samurai Jack with us. So yeah, there's a lot of people, but I think just the nature of the business probably learned more from men, but women definitely have really come on up, and it's it's evened out a little bit more, thank goodness, because there's so many good artists out there. Got to keep learning from them all.
And Max, can we ask you as well, if you got a question for, you don't know who our next guest is, but if you any question you would want to ask our next guest, that'd be nice to hear. If you know what I mean.
Well, I guess I'd ask them, what is their top guilty pleasure, be it a cheesy movie, song, or a TV show that has gotten them through the last 2 years. Yeah,
excellent.
What are they embarrassed to admit, or hopefully proud to admit, is their favorite guilty pleasure?
You know what we should do, Alex, is after we get like a year's worth of these, we take the question and then we have the answer, follow it behind it, and take the little video clips of every single one of them, just put it up as his own video. I think that'd be really
I thought you were going to say we'll release a book.
Release
questions from USUK.
from famous people that are not us. That'd be amazing. Chris, I got to say, man, you've been more than generous with your time with us. We really appreciate it, especially being out in LA. You're 3 hours behind me, so you woke up extremely early for this interview. I thank you so much for coming out here to this. Where can people keep track of you? Where are they going to see the next thing, like Instagram, Twitter, anything like that you want to kind of throw out there?
Well, I spread myself far and wide across social media. I mean, definitely I'm usually updating on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at Chris Battle Art, and pretty much on most social media platforms, be it Facebook or even Tumblr or other things, but it's all at Chris Battle Art. And luckily, my name is a little unique, so if you just Google Chris Battle, you're gonna find something of me.
The entire time, all I heard is Ralph in the background going, "What's a battle?" He said, "What's that rattle?" It's the air conditioning duct. Oh my god! All right, this has been a fantastic episode. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Alex Whiteley?
No, thank you to my wife Carolina for getting in touch with Chris. And Chris, you're welcome back anytime. We love speaking to people that make these things with their bare hands. So you're welcome back to talk about whatever.
Yeah, happy to return once I get that cool Star Wars gig.
Yeah, the problem is you die right after.
Working on Mandalorian babies.
Oh my god, it's great. Okay, so hey guys, thank you very much for joining us today. If you love this content, make sure you check out our website, USUKnetwork.com. That is the home and hub for everything that's USUK. There is this amazing show, USUK Podcast, and there is also the Thor's Kin Podcast, which is the weekly Wednesday live show that they do. It's a lot of fun. Moose Cooper, David Rabies, and Alex Whiteley. They get together. I know he's gonna hate me. I don't care. And they do a lot of fun things. Like they have a Butt Chug Island, which is they basically just take the worst thing in the world and they just throw it in Butt Chug Island and get rid of it forever. And they have a little debate about the whole thing. And if you like what you see, there's been a few things. I actually brought up some good stuff. We'll talk about that later. If you like our website, if you think, wow, what a great looking website. I wish I could do something like that. I wish I was clever as Tom and Alex. Well, we didn't do anything. We reached out to our good friends over at WebOrchard.com. WebOrchard.com, guys, they are a website building platform. That's what they do. They take your ideas and they make them into websites. Whether you sell things on Etsy, you have yourself an OnlyFans, or whatever you want to do to promote you yourself. Like maybe they make ChrisBattle.com, whatever it is. They do stuff and they make websites and they promote you in the best way possible. They make a beautiful functioning website that is going to thrill the masses. So if you have always scratched your head and said, man, I really wish I had something like this, I wonder how I can go about it, you reach out to the good people at WebWatch.com and they're going to take care of you. And just mention the USUK guys.
Nice. Brilliant. Yeah. Chris, you've been an absolute pleasure to speak to. Thank you so much.
Happy to join you guys.
This is how we say goodbye. This has been USUK. I've been Alex Whiteley.
I am Tom Bruno.
And thank you very much for joining us. Catch us next time. Peace out.
All right, listen up, Spuds. This is Zach Brannigan, Master of Time, Space, and everything else in between. And, winner of this year's Modesty Award. You're listening to USUK with Al and Tom. Your one stop for this sort of thing.